Okay. So, I guess I had pretty poor timing on this challenge in some regards. So, my apologies. We've been consumed with the kickball tournament and annual enrollment and all of that. So, this would have technically been our last week, but I am going to extend it to next week. So, you'll be getting an invite from me today, so we can wrap up week 4. Because there's a second part to this around the life insurance resources. We talk about wills and things like that. So I hope you had this extra week of a buffer just to give you some time to catch up on anything you haven't been able to do, such as the passwords and codes and, working through that life planner. So again, my apologies. So today, we're going to focus on the importance of life insurance and what the city provides around life insurance, and then around beneficiaries. So I'm not going to read this word for word, but no matter who you are or what your salary is or how much money you're bringing in, life insurance is very, very important. No, it's really there to help protect your family when something unexpected happens to you, to make sure that they would still be able to maintain, you will at least continue to pay the mortgage or any personal loans that you have, or possibly replace some of the family income. And so, what life insurance basically is the insurer agrees to give the beneficiary, so whoever you notate to receive those funds after you pass, will receive a specific amount of money in the event of your death. So you would be paying a fixed amount every week, whether it's monthly or annually, over a period or throughout the duration of the policy. So we do offer life insurance through the city, but it's likely some of y'all have insurance policies outside the city. So if anything was to happen to you, we would reach out to life insurance companies that you have through the city. But if you had any outside policies, you would want to make sure the power of attorney or whoever that beneficiary is knows that, so they can do what they need to do to ensure they get those funds. So, who needs life insurance? I'm not going to read through this one for one, but really anyone, whether you're married, not married, married with kids, stay at home parent, because you're still making financial contributions even if you aren't earning a salary. Um, Grown children, even if you're single, you may be helping with your aging parents or a sibling that has special needs. You may have significant debt. You may have student loan debt. So that would be expected to be paid even after your passing. So, just a little information on whole versus term life insurance. So, term life insurance is just like it says, it covers for a fixed amount of time, whether it's 10, 20, or 30 years, and it provides a death benefit if the covered person dies during that specified term. So, say that I, I'm 40 years old and I take out that's a terrible example. Let's say I'm 25 and I'm taking out a 30-year um, term life insurance policy. And so that policy is good until I'm 55. So if I live beyond 55, that term life goes away after the 30 years. Term life is much less expensive than whole life insurance, just because of the length of the policy. And for whole life, it's just like it says, it's permanent life insurance through your entire life. It does not expire. This is something, if you are looking to do whole life, that you would want to do when you're young, because premiums do go up as you get older, and then at any health conditions that you may have and such. So with whole life, it you know the monthly premium stays the same throughout the length of the policy, throughout the life of the policy. And there's also a savings component, so it builds cash value. So over time, um, the cash value of your policy will increase. And so you can borrow against some of that, or withdraw funds, in certain situations. The city provides a basic life and accidental death and dismemberment coverage, and this is for all regular employees up to 2 times your salary, up to 500,000. This is automatic. You are automatically enrolled. This is available at no cost to you and just for employees. Um, and then the accidental death and dismemberment, this provides coverage for a death due to an accident, or if you lose a limb or function of some sort. Can't talk today, such as sight, hearing, or speech in an accident. So we also have the option to purchase supplemental life insurance, and so you can use this in increments equal to 1 to 5 times your salary, but it cannot exceed $1.25 million. So the guaranteed issue amount is $600,000, but does not exceed 3 times your earnings. So sometimes this can be confusing. So during annual enrollment, if you do elect this coverage, any employee that newly elects the supplemental life or requests an increase greater than one level up, then you are subject to evidence of insurability, which they'll look at your age, if you have any, if you're a smoker, things like that. If you have spouse, which I'll talk about spouses on the next slide, but just so you know, if you enroll your spouse into the supplemental life plan, if they newly elect the plan, or you just add them, or you request an increase greater than one increment, then the spouse is also subject to evidence of insurability. And then if you have dependent supplemental life insurance, there's never any evidence of insurability required for that. So for the dependent life and AD&D insurance, you have the option between 5 levels of coverage for your spouse and dependents. And I noted this on here: dependents are not subject to EOI. And then whenever you make your annual enrollment elections, you'll see that it's 2 separate elections. You have one for supplemental life and one for supplemental AD&D. And while these are separate, when you make the elections, you can't have AD&D without having the life insurance coverage. And I saw a question pop up. Let me go to the chats. So for the life insurance, anything that's through the city, that the basic life insurance does not continue after retirement, or once if you leave the city, that basic life insurance policy ends whenever you leave the city or after you retire. And then let me go back, because the guaranteed issue amount is a little confusing. So you can get up to 1.25 million in supplemental life insurance, because you can get up to 5 times your salary. So the guaranteed issue amount is 600,000. But if you have, say your salary times 3 goes beyond that 3 times, you would then, it could go up to 1.25 million. You would just be subject to the evidence of insurability, if that makes sense. So I'm reading the questions. To clarify the guaranteed issue part, I'm at 3 times my income for supplemental life insurance. Can I go up to 4 times during this annual enrollment if I'm under the $6,000 cap? Yes. Joseph, that's correct. You can. Do you only get that money if you pass away while working with the city? Yes, that's correct. Okay. Yeah, the even as I explain it, I mean, I work in benefits day in and day out, and sometimes trying to explain life insurance and how it works is very complicated. So if you have any um personal specific questions, just give me a call or shoot me an email after and we can kind of talk through that. See, so we talked through that. A lot of people don't know about the additional life insurance benefits with Symetra if you are enrolled in that. So they do have the option for an accelerated death benefit. So you can get a portion of that money if you were to become terminally ill. It sounds so morbid to talk about. If you were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and you have 6 months to live, then you would be eligible for that accelerated death benefit. So you would get a portion of that. They have a beneficiary companion program, so it supports services for beneficiaries who have some experienced a loss. You have travel assistance if you're traveling more than 100 miles from home, and they also offer identity theft protection. So that includes the lost wallet protection, translation service, and also emergency cash. And you would just, to access this benefit, you would just call Symetra directly and let them know that you have the life insurance coverage, and they'll verify you are who you say they'll verify you are who you say you are, and then they'll help you get connected to those other resources. Um, so then the voluntary whole life insurance, I need to update this. So back in 2023 is when we added coverage for not just you as the employee, but for your spouse and your children. Um, so again, this whole life is just how it stays. It's for your entire life. The rates will not go up as you age, and it is portable at the same rate. So say for this, you can, if you leave the city, you can take this policy with you. You would connect with Unum and you would pay Unum directly. So it wouldn't come out of payroll deduction anymore. So that is portable. The premium of what you're paying is based on your age and smoking status. Um, and then employees can purchase between 10, starting at 10 up to 150,000 of whole life, regardless of other existing coverage. So say you could have several whole life insurance policies. So you could purchase whole life through the city and then also have another whole life insurance with another company outside the city. And then spousal coverage can be purchased in amounts of 15 or 30. And then for child coverage, it's either a $1, $2, or $3 deduction, and that the amount of coverage is based on the child's age. And I see Ruth asked a question: do the rates go up as the child ages or enters adulthood? For it, they do not. They stay the same. That's why if you are considering whole life, it is good to look at it at a young age. Just because your health status is likely better, you're younger, and so your monthly premium will be lower than it would be. I'm almost 40, and it would be much higher than if I took it out at 20 years old. So we're going to talk a little bit about the beneficiaries and why things you want to consider if you want to name your kids the beneficiary and they're under the age of 18, why you may want to rethink that a little bit. Um, then for the whole life, there's a restoration rider option. So that is, I can give you that. I can send you some more information on that, Joseph, because you can use it to cover some long-term care. And I believe for something else. I'll get some more information to you on that, Joseph. This is not a pre-tax benefit. Okay. So beneficiaries, we have half of our employees, well, 4,000 employees don't have a beneficiary listed for at least one of their benefits. That is a big deal. We'll send notifications to those that are missing beneficiaries. We'll send out mailings. We notify them to let them know that they are missing beneficiaries. Because if something were to happen to you, you'd want to know that your benefits are going to the right person. So we've had situations where employees had they were married, they named their spouse as their beneficiary, and then they were since divorced and remarried, and they never updated the beneficiary. And so when something happened to that employee, the ex-wife got the funds and not the current wife, and I would not have wanted to be in those conversations. And so it's so important that the people that you check your beneficiaries on a yearly basis, because that can change. So I always encourage people, as you're making your benefit elections for the upcoming year, that's also a great time to check your beneficiaries. And if you don't have named beneficiaries, your assets could go transfer to your estate. And the state law determines who receives this benefit. And that is a very cumbersome and very expensive thing to go through. So if you don't have, just double check all your beneficiaries as you're making your annual enrollment elections. And as part of your packet, I provided a list of all the city resources or city benefits that have a beneficiary option, but this is just specific to the city. So if you have any policies or such outside the city, you want to make sure that um, there's also a beneficiary notated for that. Um, so I know there was a question, do the kids get a payout when they reach 18? So there's also a pamphlet in your packet. I talked a little bit around naming a minor as a beneficiary. So if you designate a beneficiary who is under the age of 18, I can speak to specifically the city's policy, but if you have any outside policies, you would want to review those plan documents to determine how that benefit will be paid. So for the city life insurance, that's through Symetra. If you designate a minor, so under the age of 18, to be a beneficiary, that full amount will not be paid out directly to the minor. So what will happen is Symetra will pay that minor up to $200 a month to a person who is providing a financial support or maintenance for the minor children. So that the children's not going to get that. I would consider and thinking about if you named your child that was under the age of 18 as a beneficiary, and say your sister was going to be taking care of them if something happened to you. Your sister would only receive $200 a month for financial support for that kid until they reach the age of 18. So you think about $200, how much, that's not even enough for a week of groceries for most people. So just something to consider. And then also, if you have a minor named as a beneficiary, you can't use those funds to pay for any funeral or final arrangements. So for a lot of people, funerals are very, very expensive. And so if you have a minor named, then you could not use any of those funds for final arrangements. So what you could do is you could establish a trust in your child's name, or name a legal guardian, whoever's going to be taking care of your child after both, you or both parents are deceased, or in the event of a separation or divorce, where another parent would have custody. Who's going to be taking care who's going to be the legal guardian. So that's something you really want to work with an estate attorney around what that would look like. It could look differently for everyone based on your situation. And next week we'll kind of talk through more on the resources around that, because we have the MetLife benefit, we also have EAP and things like that that can assist you. Because again, I am not an attorney. And so here's just the back of that sheet. It's in your packet that shares all the benefits that have beneficiaries attached to them. And again, you should check these. I check mine on a yearly basis. You also have access to update your beneficiary through the vendors and SmartBin. And then also don't forget about your checking and savings account. Some people just assume, well, if something happens to me, it's just going to go to my spouse, specific to checking and savings account. And that's not always the case. And you can also talk directly with your bank. Some banks I had to call, I'm with state employees. And so I had to call them to ask about how to add that to my checking and savings accounts. Um, so if you're looking to learn more about your benefits and resources that are available, you have the benefits education tab that's on CNET. So if you go to CNET and benefits, there's a tab for benefit educations. I'll post stuff in Wellness Wednesdays. There's benefit briefs. We have the benefit newsletters that come out quarterly. There's the retirement briefs. All this can be found under benefits education. And then we have the financial wellness resource guide. That was also sent in your packet. I'll be updating that again for 2025 because we have some enhancements there and just some minor tweaks to some of the financial resources. And so once that's ready, I'll be sharing that out citywide and probably Wellness Wednesday. And then I'm going to talk through the plan of attack, and then I'll come back and look at, go through any questions I haven't addressed. So for the plan of attack this week, if you're behind on any of the plan of attacks from previous weeks, I would try to catch up on those first. Check and update your beneficiary. So we are in the thick of annual enrollment. This is a great time to do that and use the beneficiary checklist that was provided in your packet. And then also be sure you consider anything, any policies and such outside the city that you would need to check the beneficiaries for as well. And then be sure you add beneficiary to your checking and savings accounts. And then next week, we'll get into more of the estate planning, wills, power of attorneys, and the city resources around that. So I'm asked to answer the pre-tax. Can you speak more about the group term life insurance that is listed on our pay stubs? Can you give me more insight on that, Kathy? What exactly
Yes,
you're asking?
just curious. So I wasn't sure. Is that the insurance through Symetra or is that something different?
Um, I haven't looked at the updated pay stub since we worked over transition to Workday. Like I haven't looked at mine. Let me look and get back to you on that. Is that
Okay,
okay?
because it's just the code that says like GTL, and I was like, oh, okay, just curious.
Yeah, I would think that's through Symetra. Like that's just the term. That's what the city. Is it zeroed out or is the one that you've elected? Like, is there a cost
No,
associated with it?
actually, on the pay stub, it looks like they're adding it to like the weekly, like my weekly amount, and then it's being taxed. So I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back and look at your benefit elections and I can speak to your situation directly. Does that work?
Yes, thank you.
Huh? Um, from the UK, is there any issue with me naming my sister in the UK as beneficiary? There should not be an issue with that. But Mary on our team is the expert around that. So let me ask her, Ruth, and I'll follow up with you on that. And then, Joseph, would you happen to know when they're supposed to post the progeny webinar from their other day to CNET? I'd probably say by the end of the week, they should have that up and running. I'm making a note, Joseph, and I can give you a heads up once that's posted. Um, okay. Yeah, Ruth, I'll follow up with you on your question. Any other questions? I know we have a few minutes left. once, going twice. Okay. Well, I will try to get this, the recording, and then I'll send the attachments for the beneficiary checklist and things like that, just in case, you know, you've misplaced your packet or something like that. So I'll include all that information. And then if you have any questions, please let me know. And the questions in the meeting chat, I'll follow up with those people directly. I am in meetings on and off throughout the day, so it'll probably be mid-afternoon, but I will get back to you on those. All right. And y'all have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. See ya.